Welcome, Lips, to Metallarium Pages. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And how are you doing? And how is the band Anvil doing at this moment?
Oh, everything is doing really good, man. Just kind of observing the reviews.
Okay. So, talking about from this new album, when do you start writing songs for this new album? Are all these songs new, or did you rescue any composition that were left out for the previous albums?
uh Jeez. When did I start writing this? As soon as we finished the last album. When I got home in the summer of 2022, something like that, started writing. Because we finished the last album. Was it Legal at Last? I don't even know what the last. Oh, Impact is Imminent. When we finished Impact is Imminent, we came home and began writing. So that's how long. And then the writing got done, and we did more touring, and we had a bit. Then I got to write the lyrics. I wrote all the lyrics, and then we went in and recorded. And we've been waiting around for months to put the damn thing out, which I think is crazy. I don't know what the hurry was, just to sit around and wait.
Okay, you guys seem to have the steady pace for releasing a new albums. With your last one coming out in 2022, what motivates you or inspires you to keep such a consistent release schedule, especially in an era where people tend to listen to albums less and there are so many other releases competing for attention?
It's the only way to stay relevant. If you don't keep putting out music, you get forgotten, and the memory is not long. So the longer you wait between albums, the worse off you are. The only way to stay relevant and above water and noticed is by keeping busy and keeping yourself recording and putting records out. If you don't, you fade away very quickly.
Well, yeah. So many bands and musicians see each album as a child, each one special in its own way. So what makes this album special to you? And how do you work to maintain your classic sound while still keeping your compositions fresh and after so many years as a band?
It's a loaded question. I don't even know where to begin to answer it. Jesus. You got to be more concise in what you're asking. Like you've asked 3 or 4 things in one thing, so I don't even know how to begin to answer it, to tell you the truth. I don't really think about things like that. I don't think of it in those terms. Put out albums, you go and record. You put out the album, and you go tour. You come up with some new ideas, load them on the computer, work through the ideas, bring them into rehearsal, start the process again when you get the time, and then you write all the songs, go in and record, and then go out on start touring again, and the cycle just starts. So it just keeps doing that over and over and over again, and there's no end to it. And you got to do it as much as possible, because you're running out of time. Number one, as a human being, you're running out of time. Every day is one day less. So and until you start looking at life that way, you don't get a lot done. You want to get as much done as possible. That's what it's all really about. At least it is for Rob and I. So that's what we've been on a mission to get as much done as possible between now and the end. And what's the end? When you don't wake up. One day you just don't wake up, and it's over. Mm-hmm. And every day it's getting closer. So Today I woke up, it's a good day, and I'm going to get shit done. That's it.
Okay. Okay, well, talking about now about the name of the album, how do you choose and the name of your album? Because I think you are the only one band with more than 20 or more than 40 years of existence that always put a new name of the album. You are the only one that try to put different names. No, like Iron Maiden put Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, so these kind of things. But you are the one or two, the only one that put a different name each album. Never use Anvil as a band album.
Well, we did once. Anvil is Anvil.
Well, yes,
We
but
did it
no,
once.
uh,
Once.
but it's
At
not
least, at
Anvil
least,
Anvil.
at least it was still an alliteration. And if you ask me, it's one of the most clever covers. And it was Rob's own painting. How pure can you get than that? You can't get more pure. The drummer of the band, painted the cover of the album. And the album is called Anvil is Anvil. So how much more pure can you get, more Anvil than that? That even the cover was by Anvil.
Okay. Okay, and as you can see, we are living in a world that choose the music now by singles. We're returning to the old times, 40s, 50s. There is the music spread by singles at that time, and now returning to this aspect. So, for this aspect, how do you choose? How do you typically decide the order of the songs? Because as I mentioned, it's now is feel like that's important aspect to listen experience. Because if you listen just singles, so no, as you mentioned, it's not prevail in the future for with new albums, etc.
You know what? You got to be lucky enough to have people around you that help you decide.
Mhm.
That's about the only thing I can say about it. And I think it's you're right. It is like the old days. It's more like the old days than it's been in years. Everything is singles. Everything is one by one. And even one by one doesn't work that well. That's what I'm noticing. Your first single is the be all end all, and then everything else after it, no one seems to really give a shit about, right? So you got to wonder about that. Is it singles? Is it albums? Hey man, as far as I'm concerned, it's none of the above. It's about your fan base buying your records. That's what it's all about. Anvil has a fan base. I already know how many, and I could say a number of things that is observations. I don't think any of these interviews or any of this shit makes any difference whatsoever in the outcome of how many records you sell. That's the other thing. And what journalists say about your music, or what they don't say, or what interviews you do or what interviews you don't do, I don't think it makes any difference, because you have a fan base, a set fan base of fans. You let them know that you've got a new record out and they buy it. That's it.
Mm.
And that's it. You can pump it till the cows come home, and put out interviews and have hundreds and hundreds of reviews, and put an ad in every newspaper, put an advertisement on all the TV shows and everything. Anybody who knows or cares about the band already knows you have the album, and they're going to buy it. Everybody else is going to ignore it, and they always do, because they're not interested. It's like, you're not going to sell me a lady's bra. I have no use for it. You know what I'm saying? No matter
Yeah.
how much you advertise it, I'm still not going to buy it. And that's the same thing about music. Only the specific people who are the fans of the band buy it, and only the specific people of the bands bother even reading an article about their favorite bands. No one wants to hear it anymore. No one gives a shit what somebody else thinks anymore, because it's all turned. That's what the internet has done. It's turned all our opinions into mishmash. No one cares anymore. It's just another opinion. critics don't mean as much as they used to either, because everybody's a critic. Like my question is, why does a journalist who has no credentials to be a journalist is a journalist? Why does his opinion mean more than someone else's? Right? Like, you stop and think, and I think that those questions have crossed most people's minds, especially in today's day and age, where you want to see somebody's opinion, turn their computer on. And eventually there's so many opinions, and so much of it is conflicting, you're left with only one thing to do: judge for yourself. That's it. So the only thing that a record company can do in this day and age is advertise the fact that the record is available. Whether people want to buy it, you're never going to convince them to. You're never going to convince someone who hates some band to buy their record. You're never going to do it. Never going to happen. Like, somebody who hates Anvil, they're not going to buy my record no matter what the fuck I put on it. And it could be, and it wouldn't, if it says Anvil, they don't want to know. Right? That's part of what having a brand name means, is that so that people know what it is, whether to avoid it or to buy into it. That's what marketing's all about, and what advertising's all about. So a lot of stuff is so redundant. I just think it is. It's you over advertising something that that only a certain number of people are into. Once you reach them, you've reached them. That's how I see it.
Oh, okay. Interesting answer. Thank you for this. And talking about the promotion of this album, what are your plans after releasing the album? Perhaps any chance you will be making it down to Latin America for full shows here? Who knows? What kind of plans do you have for this new album?
No, there are no plans to go to Latin America or South America, or we're doing the States starting in July through to end of August. Then in October to December, we're going to be all through Europe. And what we do after that is hard to say. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. With over 40 years as a band and now 20 studio albums, if you have to pick 3 major milestones in your career, what would they be?
Oh, the milestones?
Mm-hmm.
First album?
Mm-hmm. Okay, just the one album?
The movie? Another milestone. Haven't hit it yet. It'll be the end. Whenever I die, that'll be a marker right there. Whenever one of us dies and we don't continue anymore, that's going to be the end. That's the next one. So we'll see how long that's going to take. Let's hope it takes a real long time.
Okay. Looking back on all your years as a musician and as a band, if you go back in time, is there anything you would do differently?
No, absolutely not. No. Because everything that happened was supposed to happen so that it would be the way it is now. So you change anything and it's not the same. So no, you don't want to do that.
Well, yeah. In your long career,
I'm gonna say, oh, should have signed with Johnny Z, or should have joined Motorhead. No, man. I wouldn't be sitting here right now if I did any of those things. That's the difference. So you can't wish something away and make it different and hope that it's going to end up being the same. It's not. You change one thing and everything can change. Potentially nothing will ever be the same. So no, you got to leave everything alone.
Okay. So in your long career, is there a band you particularly admire that you have the chance to share the stage with? Or perhaps you would like to share with this band in the future.
Oh, I think there of course there are bands that I almost call like they're related. They're like brothers. You know what I mean? Like they just are. You admire each other's bands, but sometimes you don't get to play with each other. You never get those chances, and it's kind of sad. Um, Such bands are obviously like we we played a number of shows with them in the very, very early days and never got to do it again, really. And that's Raven. Another band that we did shows with in the past and that it's wonderful to tour with was Girl School, and we don't do that very often. If ever again. Obviously Motorhead. I never got to do it enough. It was
Mhm.
always great to tour with Motorhead and do shows with Motorhead. Could never do it enough. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the way it is. Bands that I don't know that not every band you want to continue touring with. Sometimes it's fun to do a one-off, even do a couple tours with, but doing all your tours with, nah, I don't think so.
Mm.
I mean, it
Okay.
was great to do a European tour with Udo. That was great. Um, it was
Mm.
great to do a bunch of shows with Saxon, obviously. Not much different than doing shows with Motorhead, but still the same kind of thing. And you could never get enough, but you never get them. They only happens short periods of time and not that often. So it's just the way it is.
Mm. Well, yeah, yeah. You guys were a huge inspiration for a generation of metal bands that went on to get even more extreme, and the genre has kept evolving ever since. What keeps you guys committing to your more classic sound rather than exploring other musical directions?
No, because you know what? We did it, been there and done it, and never want to go back. And what am I talking about? The 90s. The 90s is when we let all kinds of new influences from the bands that were happening at that time, including the Slayers, the Metallicas, the Panteras, the Anthrax, whatever was out there, all the thrash shit. And we incorporated it into the Anvil sound, and people didn't like it.
Mm.
Let the truth be told, people didn't like it. That's not the Anvil that we know and loved. The hell are you guys doing? When we put out Plugged In Permanent, man, wow, is there a backlash? People are like, what? Doing songs like Racial Hostility or AZ85, and they're outright thrash metal, totally verging on death metal vocals. I wasn't even singing, just yelling. Like what was Dr. Kevorkian? I'm yelling, Dr. Kevorkian, Dr. Death. I mean, it's not even singing. You know what I mean? I already did that.
Mm.
I
Okay.
already been there, man. It's it had its time and place, and it's done. So I'm not
Mm.
going back.
Mm. Okay, switching gears a bit, there is a lot of talk this about the advancement of the artificial intelligence and how it's being used in the arts, including music composition and graphic designs. So how do you see this from your perspective? And do you think you might use AI in the future for composition, designing an album cover, or creating
Oh
a
man,
video, for
no man,
example?
it's the same thing. It's the same thing when people ask me if I was going to use fake drums. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not when you got Rob Reiner in your band. Why would we use fake drums? Like, come on. I mean, we're a real old school band. We actually go out on the floor and play our songs as a band and record that. And it's not done in bits and pieces and dropped in and cut and pasted. we actually play the damn songs, which is unusual in today. So if you're asking me whether I'd incorporate things like AI into Anvil, absolutely not. Well, what am I going to do? I know what I'll do. We'll give Anvil Rob Halford's voice. How's that?
Okay.
Just hope that this shit doesn't happen, because it's going to be terrible. You know, you're going to hear Ronnie James Dio singing really shitty songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I also see that you've been working with AFM Records for a while now. How will you
Yeah.
describe your relationship with this label and how important is to the band, considering that these days a lot of younger bands are choosing self-produce and release their music independently?
Well, it's probably where we're going to end up, because like I've been saying to a lot of people in these interviews, the record business as we knew it is pretty much dead.
Okay,
You know,
that is
selling CDs, selling music is pretty much dead, because everybody streams. No one bothers buying it. Who buys CDs, man? You're lucky if you can find a record store.
well, that is true.
You know
That
what I
is
mean? Like, come on, we all know that. We all know the realities of what's going on, man. It's like, so what do you think it's become? It's become, you gain your popularity any which way you can, and your popularity is governed by the music you put out, but it's governed by the music you put out for free.
true.
It's not for what you sell; it's for the stuff for free. How many people listen to it? That's all that you get paid for it. No, that's not what you get paid for. You get paid for when people come to your gig and buy your T-shirts. That's when you get paid. You don't get paid otherwise.
Well, yeah,
And that's
yeah,
that's the name of the business now. So what does it all mean? It means that you got to be able to sell tickets to have people come to your show. And once they come to your show, you better hope that you played well enough, and then they'll buy your T-shirt. They've already heard your music, and they don't have to own it, because they turn their computer on and they can stream it. So that's what it's come down to. No one bothers. So the more we go along, the more lazy we are, the more we depend on electronics and technology to get us through. Like, who the fuck uses a map anymore? Anybody ever use a physical map anymore? Yeah, use a GPS or your phone, right?
mm,
Some
yeah,
things are going to go extinct. Who has a typewriter anymore?
no one.
No one.
Yeah,
You
no
use a
one.
computer. You type on your computer, and then you press print. You don't have to type, and you don't have to worry about using whiteout to erase all your mistakes. You just backspace and fix the mistake. It's turned into a completely different world. And not only that, you don't have to learn how to read or write properly, or print, or even spell. You got spell check. You don't have to memorize. You don't have to memorize your multiplication tables. You're using a calculator or your computer. Like, what's going on, man? Like, you think about it.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know,
Completely right.
and a lot of things that it takes to actually survive. In reality, if you pull the plug, if you killed the electricity in this world, we'd be doomed. What do people do without electricity? No more cell phone, no
Mm,
more electricity. Now what do? You don't you got no food, because you got no refrigerator. Now what are you going to do? You got to learn how to hunt, but you don't even know how to hunt.
yeah,
You can't even go fishing. You don't even know how to put a fucking worm on a fucking hook. Yeah, lots of stuff gets lost, man, and it's all because of our. That's what it means to be advanced, to be lazy, to make it
yeah,
so that you don't have to do anything. That machines do the work for you. Well, eventually, and then you forget how the work's done. And now you're going to be put in a real dangerous place. So what is it? What's AI? It's more of that. Now
Mm.
you don't even have to think. You just turn your computer on. It does all your thinking for you. It's like,
Well, that is true, completely true. We are close to finishing this interview, Lips. I'm talking
okay,
about a topic that changed the perspective of the understanding of the metal worldwide is the social networks, as you mentioned a few seconds ago. As you know, today, thanks to this media, metal became more understandable and more comprehensible, and even lost that sense of impact, fear, or mystery that it had during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. When you talk about one band in especially when we talk about one band Brujeria from the US, and you believe that this band they were a narco satanics people, even we don't know about the even really don't know. Or talking about King Diamond was thinking that he lived in a castle, or Bruce Dickinson writing lyrics to only bother conservative people at that time, or satanist idea by many black metal bands in the 90s, etc. So now there is no mystery or curiosity that metal gave you on a general level. So for you, what is your point of view about this move away from the fear, mystery, or curiosity that the metal had before, and now everything is comprehensible?
hmm. I don't think it's just metal. I think it's the whole world in general has become much more conservative and much more. Everything's under scrutiny, and everything's on the verge of getting canceled. You know, this is inappropriate. That's inappropriate. You shouldn't say this. You can't say that. Yeah, it's from freedom abuse. That's condemned liberty. That's what I was talking about in my song Condemned Liberty. It's from abusing our freedoms. You know, we have the freedom to write songs about anything you want. So you got some jerk off assholes writing songs from the perspective of a Nazi. So now you've abused the freedom. Now you're talking and singing about things that you really shouldn't be, that are actually inappropriate. So what happens? Then they make rules. Then they start putting rules on stuff. You're not allowed to do that. And the more that we break the rules, the more rules we're going to get.
Well, yeah.
That's where the world is going, and that's part of my complaining. But I'm as much a part of the problem as I am of a solution, because I don't have a solution, but I observe it, and that's what I'm doing, and I just don't think that it's that as we move on in the modern age, we're able to see and hear what everybody else is thinking, and we're all judgmental, and everybody's voice is as loud as the next person. So no one has that. People with credibility lose their credibility, and people who have no credibility get credibility. So you're wondering at that point, then there's no truth. Then there's no truth. Where do you find truth? Who do you believe? What do you believe?
Well, yeah.
So we're over communication, and being over technologically advanced can be a very, very bad mixture. That's what I think. It certainly has a potential to go very, very bad, and that's because the human condition is people like the easy way out. So that's what makes it not good.
Well, Lips, we come to the sad moment of this interview. I hope you enjoyed this interview as I did. And thank you very much for your time. This new album's a great one. So maybe you have something to add to your Latin fans that expect someday Anvil came with a full tour here, and obviously Metalerum followers.
Well, it would be nice. It certainly would be. I enjoyed South America, and that part of the world. It was a truly great experience coming there. I'd love to come back. You never know. We're available. Hey, we're available. Come and hire me.